Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and today I present to you a king representing the state of California. His name is Alex Salazar. He is the team leader of the Salazar Group, powered by Remax Gold, specializing in residential, multifamily units, vacant land, new construction, investment properties, commercial development land, and more. He has over 15 years of local association realtors, including Region 12 Director of C.A.R, past City of Madera Planning Commissioner, a lifelong resident of Madera, California, servicing all the surrounding areas, Madera, Fresno, Merced, and Tulare Counties. Acts as a relentless and trusting realtor and team leader in the Madera, Fresno, and Merced Counties area that is known for his exceptional negotiation skills and leadership skills. With over 2 decades of real estate experience, Alex makes each transaction as smooth and stress-free as possible for his clients. Alex began his career in real estate in 2006 and since then has joined Remax Gold, where he has been able to provide numerous clients with his knowledge, expertise, and unparalleled passion for the field. In addition to helping clients buy and sell homes, Alex is also highly skilled in his first-time home buyers, new construction, and investment properties. Alex will be sure to exceed your real estate expectations. Contact him today. You can get in contact with Alex at 559-232-5668 or Alex Sells, SELLS 559@gmail.com. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Alex.
Yay, that was pretty good.
Alex,
That
how are
was
you
very
feeling
good.
today?
Yeah, that
Another
was
good
excellent. Thank you
thank
so much for that.
No, you're welcome. You're most welcome. Thank you for sharing your time with me today. It truly means a lot. You Ladies and gentlemen, I forgot to mention this. Alex is also top 100 NARA teams in America, which is an association for the best Latino teams in America.
Yes, thank you so much. That's been a great honor. I think it's our second or third year receiving that honor, that designation, the top 100 Latino agents in the nation. And so it's been a great honor. It's been a great honor to be recognized by the group, and of course continue with that service to our industry and to our people.
Yeah. Alex, what made you want to serve? What made you want to come into the market in 2006? And what made you want to serve the people?
Well, I was licensed right around 2006, but I actually started a little bit sooner than that, or later than that, earlier than I should say. And I'll share with you the story. My mom got her license yesterday. She celebrated 25 years in the industry, so she got her license at the end of September in 1999. And in our household, my parents, ran other businesses, small businesses. We had a video store, we had a shaved ice thing, we sold clothes at the remate, all that kind of stuff. So whenever our parents did, those kind of ventures, of course we joined in. Well, me at that time, my mom just got licensed. I was just starting in high school. So I started off my high school career really as my mom's assistant. And then that grew into uh, basically getting my license. I was really 19 years old when I started to take the test. It took me 7 times to pass the dang thing, but I passed it. In those times, you had to be a conditional license, and so I was actually conditionally licensed for in 2004. 18 months later, I'm officially licensed, and then that's why it's 2006. So I've actually been doing this for 20 years, and if you think back to my even earlier days, it's really 25 years along with my mom. So my career is actually a little bit longer than what it says right there on paper, for example. But really, it was because my mom got into it. For me personally, in high school, I took a lot of drafting classes. I took architecture classes. In high school, I wanted to be an architect. I wanted to design houses. I wanted to be in that field, if you will. I just wasn't smart enough to get into Cal Poly and the schools I wanted to get into. Um, I went to college for small business and administration. I didn't graduate college either, but around that time, I was, working my regular job, a retail job, helping my mom out in her business, doing all the admin things, the assistant things, if you will, and I just decided to get my license. It was just a field it was kind of lining up with what I was already, had experience with in my high school career. I knew I wanted to do something with housing, and so real estate was that solution for me. And ever since, I've been doing this ever since I was 19 years old.
Nice, nice. You remember how you got your first client by chance?
Yes. So I and it was actually the second brokerage by the time I got my first client, which might have been several months being licensed, So I didn't get my client right away, and I was really, wet behind the ears, didn't know how to tap into a sphere of influence or anything like that whatsoever. But I remember very clearly, it was a floor call. It was basically just showing up to the office like I was already doing, because again, I was working for years for my mom as her assistant and everything like that. So it was just really showing up for floor this particular day, and someone called in and says, "Hey, I want to sell my home, need an agent." And of course, the way floor works, if you're on floor, you get that client, right? And I remember very clearly, because I see you right here with your suit on. I remember clearly that time. I worked at a department store, so I went and I bought a brand new suit, dressed up, showed up at the office, went into a conference room, and I listed that seller's home for her. And matter of fact, I'm selling a house across the street from that first house I sold almost 20 years ago or 19 years ago or so. But that's how I got my first client. It was just really someone who was calling in. And again, I didn't know how to kind of tap into sphere of influence or anything like that whatsoever. Of course, I had no money to advertise or market, but it was just showing up, to the office, trying to engage as much as possible with other experienced agents. And I got lucky and I got a call. So that's my story there.
Nice. Hey, serendipity is real. Serendipity is real. Thanks for
Absolutely.
taking my call and blessing me. It's funny how you got your full circle moment with that new listing you got from your first deal. Um, so what was the turning point in your career, your journey, where your eyes lit up and you realized you're gonna stay in real estate for good, and this was for you.
Um, you know, I I want to say that was probably it really wasn't that long ago. When I got started, again, I knew I wanted to do something with houses. Like I said, in my high school career, I designed and drew houses and floor plans and all those kind of things. Matter of fact, I still have those floor plans, and a couple of them we've actually built. So you're talking about full circle moments a second ago. We've actually built some of those floor plans, so they actually exist now. That's just pretty cool to experience that too. But I would say about 6, 7 years ago or so, I was kind of going through just some kind of I guess self doubt about myself, about my career. Where was I going? I wanted to do something different. I wanted to get involved. I didn't know exactly what, and I just started, doing different things to work on myself, work on my personality, my confidence, and all those kind of things. And then I kind of realized, getting involved with more community stuff, with C.A.R, like you mentioned a second ago, on the introduction, and just different things, I realized, no, this is exactly what I want to do. This is what I think I was meant to do, which was to help people get into this industry, and of course help people get into homes and talk about all of those kind of things. And so I just kind of tapped into that realization. I think this is what I'm supposed to do, and let's keep exploring down that road. So it was just really a few years ago, for example. But it was kind of working on myself. It was working on. I just felt kind of stuck. I was selling quite a bit of homes, but there just wasn't nothing there for me anymore, besides selling a lot of houses and things like that. I wanted some more stuff. So I just tapped into some community and some support and things like that, and realized, yeah, this is kind of where I want to go. And then from there, I think just tapping into that realization, I built a team and sell more houses, and get now rep recognitions and be on podcasts like with you right now.
Yeah, man, nice. You're crushing it, Alex. You're crushing it, I would say. And then, what's the most misunderstood thing about you, your industry, or your work?
I think number one, and so a little bit about myself. I'm a team leader. I have a team, and on my team, and I think I'll tap into a couple of misconceptions. I think the misconception, because this is definitely one that I had in the past about teams, was it was about feeding a realtor's ego, another realtor's ego. People join the team to feed that ego and give them business and things like that. My team has always been way different than that. One of the reasons why I started the team was, of course, or not of course, but my years before, again, getting involved with C.A.R, getting involved with other community events. I would get phone calls from other real estate agents with other brokerages, not just in our own offices at that time, but just different real estate, different brokerages, different parts of town, just people that knew me, knew that I sold quite a bit of homes, and would ask me some general questions. Well, how do I do this? How do I talk to this seller? How do I respond to these things? What does this contract mean? And just different things like that. And I would just give them suggestions. Might talk about marketing and different things like that, for example. And I realized what I was doing was really kind of mentoring or guiding or basically leading these people into different ways to list and sell homes, represent clients, get over fears, get over self doubt, and things like that. And so I took those things that I was already kind of doing, worked on developing those skills, and then now I have the team. So my team has always been really about bringing those agents in, supporting them, getting them started, showing them basics and all those kind of things. And of course, the result is we sell quite a bit of homes for our team and for our small area, for example. But it was not the misconception of, well, someone was just feeding my, feeding of the realtor's ego. Okay, so that was number one. The team's been open for, we just celebrated 5 years on September 16th, Mexican Independence Day. Thank you. And during our first few months of opening up, I'm excited. I have a new office space. I'm in my town, and I picked and chose the specific office for a reason to kind of be in front of the consumer I wanted to be in front of, which was primarily Hispanic. Madera, it's like 70-80% Hispanic in Spanish speaking. So I wanted to be on a specific side of town so they could see me. It's the Salazar group, So I really was really kind of playing into those intentions of being in front of that group. And so, anyways, a few months into the office, and we're getting ready for our first spring, and all my years of experience. Okay, this is going to be a great year and everything like that. And then overnight, COVID stopped everything. Right. So I have a brand new office. I have all these desks set up. I have all these brand new agents. We're getting things going, all that kind of stuff, and it stopped. Right. And so, anyways, during that time, during COVID, we saw a lot of agents get jump on social media, made it appear even to us, and we know now the consumer, fast forward, post COVID, that real estate was super easy, right? You could be on a beach and sell a house and all that kind of stuff. And sure, yes, there's a lot of people who do those kind of things. But the misconception, I think, was that, especially what was being portrayed on social media, was that it was super easy, super laissez-faire, super just passive and everything like that, and it's not. I think true realtors like myself, my team, we really get into the weeds with the clients, and I'm not just talking about negotiating price and contracts and all that kind of stuff. Really, the weeds for me is sitting with a homeowner or a future homeowner and talking about generational wealth, talking about this investment, talking about the money, talking about the process, talking about fears or other understandings of insurances and interest rates and so on and so forth. And it's so much more than what's portrayed on social media. So I think that's the second misconception that I think is out there for our industry, if you will.
Right, totally right. No, I'm glad you had that epiphany a couple of years ago. I feel like it's fulfilling now to you that you can help families build generational wealth and help the trajectory of the people on your team for the better. If you could change one thing about the industry, what would it be and why?
Um, well, if we're talking about like right now, what's happening in the industry, of course, we're talking about concessions and MLS and clear cooperation. I think the number one thing that I would like to change about the industry is really just that topic. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to hear the news about it anymore because it's so confusing. It's confusing it makes it even more confusing to the consumers, right? I would, if I could change anything, I want to tell the media, let us realtors do our job. You go back to reporting on the news and let us do our part. Let us work with our partners like yourself. Let us work with our lenders. Let us work with our inspectors, and let us take care of our people about the biggest purchase in their life, about these life-changing things, generational wealth things, and just stop talking about what you don't know about our industry. And that's one thing I wish that I could really change. And Yeah, because I see it on social media. I see it, of course, on the news. Um, my philosophy, and I tell the team all the time, we play this double-sided role in the industry. We have to be, of course, in the industry and understand, what's happening in the industry with concessions and interest rates and down payment assistance programs, and be able to articulate and translate that to our clients and talk about generational wealth and all of those kind of things. At the same time, we are still consumers, and we need to be on social media sites. We need to be on the consumer sites to see what they're seeing. That way, we can understand their point of views, and so we can talk about it when it's really important in front of the home, at the dining table, at a conference table, whatever it might be. So we have to kind of be on both sides, right? But again, I just wish the misinformation that's um, in the news, then portrayed on social media, is way different, and just talk about something else. Those people, if you will. I think
No,
that's the number one thing. It just bothers me so much. I don't know why.
no worries at all. I like that you put yourself in the consumers or borrowers shoes, or and you really care about their consumer behavior almost.
Yeah.
Um, what's the most courageous? I know you just started your shop. You opened your team 5 years ago. Was there any other courageous decisions you've made recently, and how did it impact you?
Um, I go back to that one, and I'll share a little bit more about that story. I'll share more about myself and how I kind of, had some decisions, or I guess some life changing things, and why I feel that was still the most courageous thing, which I'm still reaping rewards from. So fast or going backwards, 6, 7 years ago or so, I was about 50 pounds heavier. Overweight, not self confident at all. Mind you, I was selling quite a bit of homes, solo person. Yes, I worked with my mother, but we were never a team. She had her own business. I had my own business, I had my own experiences, everything like that. Making the most we possibly can at our brokerage, which is a great brokerage, the previous one that I was with. But, I wish this kind of capped off, and that was it. Anyways, a manager from the previous broker gave me a book, and it gets kind of led me into more self confident and everything like that. Fast forward about 6 years ago, just again, people in my community knew I was selling houses. On my free time, I like to run campaigns. I'm a hobbyist campaign manager, local campaigns. I'm on my sixth election at the moment, and it's just a hobby that I like to do. And I've won 5 out of 6 elections, two school bonds, school board members. Now I'm helping a mayor, which happens to be my mom. She's running for mayor for Madera. But anyways, a few years ago, someone that I knew from the community says, "Hey, you should start a team, right? You should start a team." "Nah, I don't want to do a team. That's for agents with egos, and so on and so forth." But kept kind of bringing it to me, and this guy was a fairly successful investor and things like that. So, anyways, I kind of looked into it a little bit more. Of course, I ran into someone from my current brokerage, Remax Gold, and who kind of encouraged me and talked about me owning my own space, me owning my own future, if you will, and establishing my value and what contributions I can make to the industry, what contributions I can make to other agents. Not talking about them, and that was interesting. So of course I took the risk, and it's been a risk. It's been an expensive risk. It's been a very rewarding and valuable risk. But that's been the most biggest thing, was taking that risk on myself, on my future, on the market, trusting what I already kind of knew, trusting these other partners and support team that I had, like Remax Gold and so on. But that's still been the biggest risk and biggest thing or courageous thing that I've done since. Everything in between has just been, okay, well, how about I try this marketing platform? How about I try this thing, that kind of stuff? And that comes and goes with owning a team or being in the industry. But that's been the biggest one, was taking the risk on myself. So I would say anyone listening, or, whatever anyone might get from that question, for example, would be the biggest risk, was taking a risk on myself and, hoping for the best, I guess.
No, I'm glad you manifested and you prevailed over adversity, Alex. Um, Hypothetically, let's say a new agent comes to you today wanting to join your team. What's your advice? Because it's October 1st. What's your advice into perhaps getting a contract before the year ends, or just really taking off in 2025 for them? What's your advice for
Oh,
them, really?
I love goals, and I love short-term goals, and I love the pressure of it. I am, I think a natural born. My mom always teased me. I'm a natural born supervisor, if you will. But tell you the truth, when I do interview, or an agent reaches out, or I reach out, when I do interview someone new, and it could be someone with a little bit of experience, someone with some past sales experience, something, in selling some other kind of product, if you will, or someone in general just brand new to the industry and wants to join the team, we've heard great things, whatever it might be. I always ask why. Why do you want to do this? How much money do you want to make? For example, to me, the number equates to number of transactions, right? And then we have a goal. Okay. Now, the reason why I like goals, and right now, of course, we're talking October 1st. We got what, 90 days to the end of the year. So I'm a believer in, and I have a philosophy that I share with the team, and it's called the 90-day challenge. Okay. And this challenge, what it is it's 30 days to create a brand new habit, 90 days to create a new lifestyle. So for 30 days, if you can establish a new habit, and today's a great day to establish a new habit, right? If that habit means I'm going to knock on a few more doors, right? I'm going to call a few more people. I'm just going to answer my damn phone, right? I'm a real estate agent. I need to answer my phone, right? If I just answer my phone, if I just follow up, if I just, you know, preview a few more homes, if I just make a couple more connections, go have a Starbucks or a lunch with a lender or a partner and talk about the business, talk about how we can help each other. If that's the new habit you can establish today, try that for 30 days. And the reason why you want to try that for 30 days is because everything else happens in between. Life still happens in between. Spouse wants to go on a date. Kids got to, have a soccer practice. Car breaks down. Whatever it might be within 30 days. But you'll be able to adjust that timing in day 31 moving forward. By the 90th day, it becomes a habit. It becomes a habit, and now your life has changed because you made a few more calls, because you showed a few more homes, right? Because you made a few more calls, maybe you picked up on someone who was willing to buy or sell right now. Maybe because you showed a few more homes without a client, without an appointment, without anything other than just to go preview. You're practicing, turning on lights, practicing walking through the door, and maybe just by chance someone drove by and said, "Hey, is this house for sale? Can you help me?" It's happened, right? Maybe just if you came in with the habit of talking to new lenders, talking about the future, talking to new inspectors, you get a different perspective of the market, share more information with a buyer or a seller. Maybe just by chance, those new habits can create a little bit more transactions for you and can definitely be life changing for you. And so I really like the whole goal thing. And that's really one thing that I always talk about clients or to new agents, especially if someone called me today, what do you want to do? Why? Right? It talks about number of transactions and it's perfect timing. Let's create a new habit today because in 90 days you could have a transaction. It's very possible, right?
Mhm.
Um, you could have a new transaction, and there we go. Now we're starting out 2025 not only with our goal in sight, but with new habits to reach them.
No, you're speaking nothing but facts, absolutes, and gems, Alex. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing that. Um, how do you cater to your team or what just occurred in August as an opportunity and not as a challenge? Would you say about the
Um,
NAR?
about the NAR thing, okay, so um, really, most of my agents are fairly new to the industry. Okay, so me, 20 years of experience, I can come into this was a conversation between me and my mom. Again, 25 years, 20 years myself, and this was a conversation between me and my mom, and we were talking about the slowdown in number of transactions and what the economists were predicting the year before, right?
Mhm.
And um, with this whole commissions or NAR settlement issues and things like that, I took the approach of I can share from my perspective, my 20 years to a brand new agent, maybe a year in, 3 years in, all that kind of stuff, and tell them how bad this was going to be, how challenging it was going to be. Oh man, I don't want to talk to sellers or buyers. I don't want to make buyers pay my commission. How do I talk about value and all those kind of things? I could have taken that road, right? And I chose not to because I knew that road, that road, for example, for a brand new agent, automatically puts into their mind self doubt, and they're not listening to all those things because from the person who has maybe more experience, it was going to be terrible, it's going to be challenging, so on and so forth. Instead, we looked at, well, what are the opportunities? Number one opportunity is number one. This is a conversation topic. Now it was usually before between a seller and an agent at the listing table, right? That was the conversation when commissions happened before. Now it's a conversation topic from buyers. Buyers want to know, what are you going to do to help me? Are you going to help me? Are you going to serve me, right? And why should I work with you versus someone else, right? Why should I work with, what value are you going to bring to me and my transaction? How are you going to help me buy a home for my daughter who's about to get married? How are you going to help me buy a house for my kids, right? And extend or start this generational wealth, right? How are you going to help me do all those things? How are you going to navigate me through this transaction, right? And we took it as an opportunity. Now we can talk about our value. Now we can talk about our services. Now we can talk about why work with me versus someone else who's just worried about the commissions, only showing houses or skipping some, which is one of the reasons why we're in this situation now. Because people were literally steering from other houses because they weren't paying enough or whatever it might be, right? Instead of not having the skills to negotiate or any of those kind of things, right? And so we took it as an opportunity to learn why it was happening, learn what could be while we were working on our value propositions. And we started several months ago before the August 17th deadline. We were working on our value propositions, anticipating what the future market would look like, not buyers and sellers. There's always going to be buyers and sellers, people who need to sell, people who want to buy, period. No matter what happens with presidential elections or interest rates or any of those kind of things. No matter what, there's a market, there's a number of houses that will still be sold and listed throughout the country, right? Um, so we focused on building our value proposition and positioning ourselves in the local market to be able to communicate that to clients, and so far so good, no complaints. It's challenging. I hate the paperwork, the 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 more additional pages we got to do, but nonetheless, we are doing pretty good with it so far.
It sounds like you're really doing your due diligence on your end. You don't have to answer this, but how do you handle negative feedback or criticism about your work if it's ever occurred?
I'm not, if so, on, let's say, a consumer site, and I've had this recently, a seller complained, right? And basically put it out there, they didn't do what they're supposed to do and all that kind of stuff. And it was totally opposite of exactly what we did to help this particular seller, right? This particular seller had called us, spouse lost the job. They had just bought the house the year before. What could we do, right? Now, there wasn't very much equity in the home to walk away with some money in the pocket, right? They didn't do any improvements, anything like that. However, we were still able to navigate through them, give them advice about how to, what to do to speak to their mortgage company, what the possibilities could be, all that kind of stuff. And still, at the end of the day, we got an offer on time. We did all the marketing correctly. We closed on time, and we closed exactly for what we thought the house was worth when we sat down with them. But it wasn't what they were expecting. They were hoping for more money. I think they were expecting me to do it for free. This is a living of mine. As much as I love doing what I do and all that kind of stuff. And of course, it's not necessarily chasing any of the kind of money. I still have to put food on my spouse's table, right? I still have to pay my PG&E. I still got to put gas in my car, right? And then show up with a happy smile, right? And pretend like everything's okay, even though that things are on fire over here, right? To service clients, I still got things I have to do, you know. And so, anyways, this seller had just commented this negatively, but they didn't tell us what they were going to do and everything like that. And I replied back with exactly what I just shared with you. Basically, I told her, so you're telling me I didn't sell the house for exactly what I told you it was worth. I didn't sell it. I didn't get an offer accepted on exactly the day I told you it was going to get accepted based on market activity. And we didn't close on escrow on time like I told you we were going to close on time. So all of that was bad. And that's where that negative comment came from. So I kind of snapped back at it, not in a mean way or negative way, but with facts. So negative comments I'm not afraid of, because usually it's that person who might be have a negative comment is really just, number one, is definitely trying to, in this particular case, trying to punish me in some way that they felt like was going to help them, right? And that's not necessarily the case. Now, if I had, let's just say, for example, you go to a store, right, and customer service was bad. Does that make the product bad? Does that make anything else bad? No, it just makes that person was just giving you bad customer service, and it's a good complaint, right? This person was giving me bad customer service. I wish I could have customer service. I hope manager sees this so we can, get more customer service training for this particular individual, because I like to patronize this business, right? And that's, I think, is a fair complaint, if you will. This is negative. This was way negative, way opposite of what that was. So I'm not afraid of negative comments. I definitely dive into them a little bit more, just kind of spilling out facts. And if they land on the page or things like that, okay. I haven't had, I don't know if I've had clients skip me because they saw a negative comment or anything like that whatsoever. But I would have put it out there that, hey, this is not necessarily the truth. There's more truth here to it, and we could definitely help you. So I think sometimes responding to them with facts and things like that also portrays professionalism, that I'm able to take the criticism at the same time too.
Oh, you're completely right, Alex. You're completely right. I think there's like a law of likability where like 25% of people are gonna love you no matter what you say or do. 25% of people aren't gonna like you even if you're perfect. It's the other 50% you have a chance of influencing or persuading. Speaking of which, who or what inspires or influences you the most in your work? Would you say?
Um, Gosh, a lot of different nuggets. I listen to a lot of podcasts like this one, for example. I listen to a lot of or audio books and things like that, self growth books, and all those kind of things. And so different nuggets. Definitely some influencers on social media that just kind of helps me navigate in my mind. How to deal with a lot of things. For example. Um, I think the one that kind of speaks to me, um, it's, and I thought about this because, of course, you put out some questions, just kind of preparing everything like that, right? And one of them was about a historical figure, okay? And for me, I just kept thinking, well, who could that be? What would I want to say, and all that kind of stuff. And I just kept thinking about JFK, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, right? Um, and a phrase that he used in his inaugural speech in the early 1960s. And it was something like, stop, don't ask what your country can do for you, ask what you do for your country. And it was a speech about service, right? And so that right there, I think for me has always been something I navigate to, is how to serve better, right? Whether that's my family, friends, whether that's clients, other people in the industry, how can I serve better? And I think that's where it starts from, was that I've heard when I was a kid. It's always been kind of on my mind. So I think that's kind of what I navigate to. That's what I like. That's what inspires, is the real question of how to better serve.
No, I see now. I see why you want the news outlets to stay quiet because you just want to better serve the people yourself. I
Yeah.
see it now. I see your vision. What's the biggest lesson you learned in your career so far? You think?
Biggest lesson, um, gosh, so many lessons, if you will. Um, I guess the biggest lesson is, number one, going back to the news. If it bleeds, it leads, right? In the news, if it bleeds, it leads. You watch the 10 o'clock news. The first segment before they hit the commercials about everything bad that's happening locally. So news, if it bleeds, it leads, right? And I think that's one thing I've learned from this industry is that, of course, all the bad news is going to lead, right? Like I said before, I've served on with the California Association of Realtors, and even in there, and that's in a different kind of group too. For example, where we're talking about obviously these issues. You know what's happening in San Diego, what's happening in LA, what's happening in Little Fowler. You know what's happening in these different markets, and kind of coming together with these issues. You know, it's a little bit different there. Um, but anyways, I think that's what it was. Is the biggest lesson is outside of our industry, it's not always good news within our industry. And if you just simply talk to other people, forget the well, I'm with so and so broker, and this is with so and so broker, and we can't talk to each other. You know, and we're not in the same clique, so we can't talk to each other. I can't trust you when you make an offer on my property. I'm not going to give you the same attention, all that kind of stuff. I think for us in this industry, we just have to understand that we're all doing the same thing. We're all dealing with the same struggles. We also have the same 24 hours in a day. It sucks. It sucks for me too when I have a cancellation, right? It sucks for me too when I have a negative comment. I get it, right? Let's just be good. Let's just talk to each other. Let's just work these things out because it's not all bad. It's a lot of good stuff within the industry, even within the industry, even with our own people serving this industry. It's not all bad. And I think that's probably been the biggest lesson right there is that outside world sometimes lives off of the chaos, right? Sometimes the outside world, like I said, the news lives off of if it bleeds, it leads, right? But here on the streets, here in the ground, here talking to you like that, for example, we're talking about nothing but positive, talking about future, talking about all these kind of things, and it's good stuff. I feel empowered already. I hope someone else feels empowered, and that's good stuff. When we're done with this call, I'm still going to go and catch up with my clients and make some phone calls and all that kind of stuff. And it's good stuff from right here, right? I didn't need outside forces to make that realize that.
Now, you're very ambitious and driven, Alex, I would say. What do you think is the key to maintaining a work life balance, and how do you apply it in your life?
Oh man. Okay. So um, I'm kind of in between. Number one, you hear a lot about, well, there's no such thing as work life balance, right? And then, of course, you hear from others, maybe selling a book or influencers, here's how to achieve work life balance. And which one is it? And I think it's both, you know? I think it's really both, okay? Number one, we each have the same 24 hours a day, right? Um, I tell my team, we have the same 24 hours a day, right? Um, there's no need for me to complain about, well, I didn't have time to go over here, didn't have time to go over there. Frankly, the consumers don't care. They want to know that you're answering the phone. They want to know that you're on the job. They want to know that you're taking care of business and all those kind of things, right? Um, and I think for me, balancing and it's there's some things to balance and there's some things that can be balanced. Okay, for me personally, so I've been together with my spouse. His name is Jose. We've been together now for 16 years. We'll be celebrating 16 years December 18th this year. And of the 16 years, mind you, that's been 16 years of my 20 years in real estate. So Jose only knows me selling houses. That's all he knows, you know. But we also know that that's been able to afford us, houses and cars and vacations and time and all of these kind of things. And we live a lifestyle. We have nothing bad to complain about. We're very grateful and very blessed with what we have, right? But Jose also knows that I have a busy season. Like I said a few minutes ago. Right now, in my free time, I'm a hobby campaign manager. And it's 30 and it's 34 days or 35 days away from the election, so it's crunch time, right? So for me, it's always early mornings. I get up at 5 and do my thing and exercise and listen to podcasts about real estate and self growth things and all this kind of stuff in the morning. And then 9 o'clock I hit it, with my office. I take care of business. I hit it with my team, and I go home usually, early evening, if you will, right? And that's been our usual schedule. But during campaign season, it's almost 5 a.m. I go home, I eat, I sleep, but with my spouse, Jose understands that I'm committed to these things. Obviously, we've had good successes. I need his support. right? And he knows that as well. He joins me when he can. He does. It's not his favorite things to do, but he'll come with me. This is a family thing, so of course he wants to come see my nephews, and I'll go walk with the nephews, and I'll go knock on some doors. And I like to talk about Lucy. This is my mom. Um, and so that part right there, and I tell him, honey, let me just get through this season, and then shoot, in November we're going to take off. We're going to go on vacation. We're going to go to the RV. We're going to go, we're going to go on a date with each other. But just, let's just have some delayed sacrifices right now. He understands that the reward's going to come and all that kind of stuff. So there's like I said, it's a little bit of both. There are some things that you can balance, and there's some things that are just not. And I think the key to both is just communication and understanding, right? I know when my seasons are. I know when my seasons are for being busier with clients and showings and things like that. And I know when my slowdowns are, right? And then, of course, I have my hobbies and all that kind of stuff, and so does my spouse. And so we know when our busy times are. We know when our families have the most birthdays between July and October, right? Jose is one of 11 siblings. There's 100 of them on that side of the family, and they all live in Fresno, 20 minutes away from us, right? And all the birthdays, no kidding, are every weekend from July to October. Sometimes two or three in a row, right, on the same day. Um, but we know our seasons. We communicate. We still make time. Sometimes obviously the campaign stuff happening right now, along with the team stuff and along with all of these things, kind of just commingle. Kind of go together. That's my life, for example. But I think the end to answer the question is, again, it's just understanding that there are some things that you can balance and some things you cannot. The things that you can balance are the things that we have to establish boundaries for. You know, I'm up early in the morning and I'm not afraid to tell anybody, but I'm also not afraid to tell people, but don't call me until 8 a.m. You know, I have early buyers and sellers, right, that are also up, and I look in their eyes and think like, oh, I can catch you at 5:30 a.m. No, no, no. I'm still not going to answer my phone, because that's me time, and I don't mind communicating that, right? And so I think setting boundaries, setting standards, following up and following through is important. And then on the things that we cannot control, right? Um, on the things that we want to do, and myself, for example, to better serve, to better be there, and all that kind of stuff. That's just how I'm driven, for example, and it's not the answer for everybody. I understand that, but for me, and again, for me and my spouse, and again, 16 years of with these kind of habits on the both of us, something works, and I think it is just under the understanding, the communication, right? Understanding and agreeing on the sacrifices that we're going to be making, which obviously is time with each other, and then we're going to see these things through. We're successful in most of those things most of the time, and I think that it requires both. Again, understanding that there are some things that you can control, some things you cannot. Communication, understanding, follow up is just really the kind of way to balance both of them. You know.
No, I like that you prioritize and really try to optimize your 24 hours, just like the rest of us. What's the most challenging aspect of being in your role in today's world, would you say?
Um, like as a team leader, do you mean, or?
Yeah, managing the team. Yep.
Well, for me, and mind you, it's the team's been 5 years. So when I started, um, there's first of all there is no handbook of how to start a team, right? There's a lot of self growth books, a lot of influencers who might give you some nuggets on how to do things and all that kind of stuff, but no one can replicate why you want to start a team, if you will, right? And so for me, the most challenging thing that I kind of thought about being team leader the last few years was understanding that I do have a job to do. There's my career, which I love, right? There are my passions, like buying, selling, things like that. My career of, even politics, if you will, campaigning, getting involved with C.A.R. And understanding those things. That's all career, my passions and everything like that. But my job is to lead my team, period. Okay. So I have to be up early. I have to do these things, right? I take that back. I get to do these things. I get to get up early. I get to do these things. I get to come and be on a podcast with you, right? And by the way, I shared with all of them and told them to they better watch and listen, and we'll talk about this later. But I get to do these things, and it's the most challenging thing. But it was a challenging thing. It's a challenging thing to understand that that's the job, right? And the challenging thing is to understand, well, that's the job, and it does suck sometimes. Everybody's schedule is different. Everybody's priorities is different, right? I have to take a call at 9 p.m. with one of my agents, helping them walk through a contract and all that kind of stuff. And I'm tired too, you know, but that's not the job, right? To complain is not the job. The job was to answer, walk them through, help them do what they're going to do, follow through. And it's challenging, it's very rewarding, but it's also the most biggest challenge.
No, I totally get it, Alex. I totally get it. Do you see yourself using artificial intelligence for yourself or your team in the near future, or what are your goals for these next 5 to 10 years?
Oh yeah, I'm using it right now. Um,
Hey, tell us a little
I
about
I
that.
do. I use it right now, and I use it right now because, of course, I'm trying to articulate a little bit about myself, a little bit more about myself. I went to college. I didn't graduate college. I didn't graduate college. I went to college for small business administration and entrepreneurship. And I realized, well, how can I learn from an entrepreneur? How can I learn about entrepreneurship from someone who works a 9 to 5 and is teaching me college courses after hours? Not really an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are really on the street, right? Entrepreneurs, are landscapers, right? Are arborists, people like us, you know, things like that. Entrepreneurs are way different. We're going to learn from entrepreneurs in the streets, right? Anyways, I tried to articulate, maybe what I'm trying to say in text or on social media posts, right? And so I use AI and, for example, to rewrite things. And I could tell AI, make this sound more positive, make this sound more whatever direction I wanted to say, because I just can't quite articulate in the words that I want to take, to do. So if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, many of that nowadays is rewritten by AI. It's my words, right? I'm just giving it different instructions and giving it different directions. If rewriting it, I might still copy it because, oh yeah, I don't use that big word. That's not how I speak. But I do use it there. I do use it, again, if I'm trying to articulate even through a text message to a client about showing up, about, meeting our appointment, following up, following through, things like that. I might use it if I feel like I might be stuck or I could say words better. I do use it in that sense. I use it as, I guess, a way to just make it where I can articulate and communicate better moving forward. I know that AI. I hate the AI phone calls. I get a lot of spam calls in the morning. You can hear the little beep. Like the old beeper beep in the beginning. The voice,
Mhm.
leave a voicemail beep right in the beginning, and I almost instantly, because I know it's not a real person. I don't like that, and I don't want to use it for that service for me. I'm sure it will work for other people. For me, I don't want to use it there. But to clean up some language, clean up something like that, absolutely. We used AI in our campaign, by the way, to clean up um, my mom's logo for our T-shirts and print, and give us some different ideas. And it gave us a whole bunch of beautiful ideas, and we're rolling with it. So I'm using AI now, and I know there's a whole bunch of things that we can use for it, for our industry. And I think there's this, you just kind of be careful. I don't want to get lost in a future where it's nothing but AI. We're going to lose this connection of the one-on-ones, right? Of the dinner table conversations, and all those kind of things.
Right, so yeah, no, the belly to belly, face to face, it goes a long way with the human connection. Is there one piece of advice you wish you would have received earlier in your career that I think could have been a catalyst or changed your whole trajectory?
Yeah. Um, and it was something I learned recently, or, I guess developing the courage to start the team. Okay. So I shared with you, I was 50 pounds heavier and so on and so forth. I'll share a little bit more about that journey in the beginning. So I hooked up, so I read, this book. My real estate coach is Jared James. And I read his book, Get Out of Your Own Way. Okay. And in that book, it taught me about getting on my way, eliminating self doubt, right? and all that kind of stuff. So from that book, I learned I'm going to work out. I hooked up with the boxing coach, right? And that guy, Paul, gave me a ton of life lessons and business lessons in the short amount of time that we were working with each other. But the one thing that he did, and I wish I had heard it sooner, I think my whole 20 years could have been way different, um, was dress up, show up, suck it up. He's a boxing coach, so it's not quite rough. I'm sorry, it's not quite easy, right? You roll with the punches and things like that, right? But those words right there were so powerful, and I still think about them today and all that kind of stuff. To just show up, right? Follow up, and then suck it up, you know. But it's sometimes what we have to do even in this industry. I shared with you a second ago or a few minutes ago, for example. Um, I can complain that again. I got to put gas in the car. I haven't eaten lunch yet, and all these kind of things. I'm a little stubble. Didn't shave quite today, or all that kind of stuff. Whatever. I can complain about my life and everything like that, but the consumer doesn't care, right? Suck it up, right? And they just want to know: are you going to call that lender? Are you going to follow up with the inspection? Are you going to schedule or get me PG&E statements for my solar? Right? I have these questions about the house. Are you going to make me priority? Right? And I got to follow up. You know. But the most important thing is I got to show up. I don't know if you can see it right here on my chest. I have my logo on my polo. Right? I call this "Don't be a secret agent." You know,
You're walking
don't be a
billboard.
secret agent. I wear nothing but my polos proudly with my logo every single day, right? And it's about showing up, it's about following up, and then suck it up.
Now, those are good mantras to live by. Now, without that polo, you're a walking billboard, I would say. Uh, is there any other memorable successes or failures that stick with you by chance?
Yeah, one of adversity, okay? And this happened again a few months after I opened up my team, okay? Super excited, all those kind of things, okay? And stupid COVID happens, right? Stupid COVID happens, shut it down, brand new, shiny, brand new office, everything like that. I can't even go into it, right? Or anything like that whatsoever. Okay, so fast forward, the governor gives us the essential services designation. We're able to open, right? So I tell my team via Zoom, hey, we're gonna jump back into the office. We're gonna take care of business. We're gonna do these things with PED forms and all that kind of stuff like that, right? I had an assistant. Her name was Kirsten. Little boy comes with her. She couldn't afford daycare and everything like that. So I told her, hey, well, I got space in the office. Bring that little guy over. And, this is a family business anyway. So bring him over. I got a little playroom in my office for him. Well, it's still for him. He's 6 years old now or 5 years old now. But nonetheless, this is, he was just barely like a year or two. Anyways, first Monday, we're going to open up right after we get the designation from the governor, and a car runs into my building.
No.
A car landed in the lobby. It had hit the median, right? Went right through the side of my building. If I could share photos with you, and I'll probably do it later, so you could get a laugh out of it like that, right? And so, anyways, I had already told Kirsten, hey, I'm gonna, let's show up on Monday. We're gonna do this early. I'm gonna bring snackies for Ezekiel, and we're gonna hit it. We got all these things to work out. We got all these kinks to work out. We're gonna hit it with the team and everything like that. We're gonna get back into it like that, right? So she's going to come in. I think it was like 9 o'clock in the morning. She was going to come in, and she's blowing up my phone. And I go, and I call her back finally, and I go, hey, it's okay. I'm going to turn off the alarm from my phone. She goes, no, there's a car in the building. I go, what the heck are you talking about, right? Then my phone started blowing up from other businesses. Like I have a AAA next to me, and I know the girls who own a restaurant across the street from me. Are you okay? What's happening? We saw the car in your building, everything like that. And oh my gosh, I knew like the world was falling apart. And I'm rushing over from one side of town to the other to get to the place. Of course, I know the cops and everything like that because a lot of community and everything like that. And no kidding, I walked through the front door, and I didn't think like, oh man, and what was happening. No, I automatically identified it as adversity. This is adversity. and I can get over this. This is going to be okay. And I go, well, I guess the guy was really eager to buy a house. He ran to the building, you know? So, I share that because, again, for me, that was like, okay, I'm diving into this new way of doing business. I'm putting in a whole bunch of sacrifice of time and money, right? And here comes this damn car, right? Anybody else I know would have just shut the doors, walk away, forget it, all that kind of stuff. No, no, I took it as an adversity. I took it as opportunity. Oh, this is going to be fantastic. I was pretty happy that it was happening, because I'm thinking, oh man, I'm going to be able to tackle this adversity, no problem.
Alex, the fact that you're always seeing the glass half full, I commend you. I tip my hat off to you. That is a story worth sharing, I would say. And yeah, what are your goals for these next 5 to 10 years? You think with the team?
Okay, so like I said, I just celebrated 5 years of the team, and I'm very grateful. Thousands and thousands of opportunities, right? Thousands of opportunities, and mind you, I haven't quite always been this way, either fanatical or super positive or everything like that too. I think I've come a long way for myself, for example, Um, but for me, the next 5 years, I do have a vision of myself and how I want to look. Okay, and I'm being very personal now. So I have a vision of myself. Okay, and it's a vision that just kind of happens over and over and over again. And I don't know if you're religious, and I don't know if anyone else is religious. For me, when I have a vision that way, it's like God's talking to you, and like, hey, something's here, right? It's up to us to write the rest of that story. So I start writing up the rest of that story. Well, what does that person look like? What do I smell like? What am I wearing? What am I doing? All that kind of stuff. From there, it develops a why, develops a plan, and then we have an action. So for me, for the next 5 years, what I do anticipate, what I want to work towards is, of course, growing my team, having a few more agents in my office. I used to say my mental capacity was 15 people, but I think it's 15 people in this building, right? I have staff and support that now we're doing so well that I can leave them alone. While I left them alone. I'm in my Clovis office right now. I'm not even in the Madera office when I'm talking to you. So, but I assure you, things are still happening. Still, things are still going on over there. And so, I think for the next 5 years, it's definitely team building number two, team number three. You know, not to spread myself thin, but to then take what I feel like have been skills and things that I've adapted to the last 5 years and go bring that to another group, right? Another county, if you will, to just kind of expand and grow the team, you know? And for me, my generational wealth is that knowledge, is those experiences. And so if I can apply that now and, have a team over here and have a team over here and have three, with 45 agents, 50 agents, I think that's what I want to work towards. And that's the goal for the next 5 years, if you will. At least another team, at least another 15 crazy people who want to join me, on this journey. And yeah, that's, I think right there is the next big goal. How we're going to do it, I don't know.
Yeah, I hope you manifest all those goals. And I hope you find people that see your vision because you're really onto something, Alex. I got two more questions for you. When I'm really old, I'm gonna rewatch this. What's a quick message you can leave with me when I rewatch this when I'm old?
How positive that person was, you know, and how bright everything in the future looked, you know. Um, I think, and I've had this realization recently talking to another CEO of a company, but he's planning on the end, you know. He's saying we're going to grow the team so that one day I can retire, and that's not my thought process. My thought process is the future. There's still tomorrow. Whatever I can't do today, my mama used to say, if it's so important, it'll be there for you for tomorrow, right? So I think my future self, and I want to be able to thank the today self, my future self, to thank the today self of how positive I was looking forward to the future. you know so that's really kind of what I wish I would get out of this moving, in the future, if you will.
No, thank you for sharing that, Alex. And my final question to you: What legacy do you hope to leave behind through your when it's all said and done?
Um, it's really some legacies I'm living with right now that I'm really trying to keep alive with my team. So other personal stuff, for example, the team is the Salazar Group, and I named it Salazar Group, not Alex Salazar Team or anything like that whatsoever. Again, this was never about me. It was about service, and it just tapping into those kind of things. But the Salazar is my dad's name. My dad passed away in 2001. So I spent more than half my life without my dad, without a father figure, anything like that whatsoever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my dad, when I was growing up, my mom and my dad, they never got separated or anything like that. They were always together. But they would share about their life experiences. Growing up in the field, working hard, sometimes 2 or 3 jobs. My dad didn't have a relationship with my grandfather. Little different lessons that my dad always gave me. I actually turned that into lessons to the team about life, about all of those kind of things. So that's the legacy I am trying to keep alive. Is that right now? The stories are personal, but I can translate it to like a things for the team, for example. And the legacy that I hope comes out of that, I think, is also happening at the moment too. So, of course, I'm second generation realtor in my family, but the third generation is already revealing itself for me. My nephew, my oldest nephew, he's 18 years old, goes to UC Merced, used to be my road buddy. He would sit with me on my lap when I was on floor. So I'd be taking care of him as I'm on the phone. And I have a picture, by the way. Um, he tells me, I think a couple summers ago or last summer, he tells me, Theo, I want to come work with you, right? And oh man, talk about full circle stuff, right? So I know what's on his mind. I told him, well, let's go get started with school and go do your engineering thing. I think that young people should learn sales. You don't have to do real estate, but you should learn sales. Because sales, you learn to sell yourself, right? You learn to sell your experiences. You learn to sell those things. The products can be way different, you know, but learn to sell because you can be a, for instance, he's studying for engineering, and engineers could just be really bookworms and really hyper focused and get all the accolades and everything like that. But when they hit the real job, when they hit the real life, it's still someone like myself. And okay, why am I going to hire you with no life experience, right? Versus someone else with all the books and all the education, all that kind of stuff. Okay. And so I just think, for example, I tell my nephews all the time, let's learn some life skills. Let's learn some sales skills. And that's some legacy that I got from my dad that I'm portraying to my nephews, and it's already coming around. So, anyways, that's the kind of legacy. Those are legacies right there. I know I'm going up in a whole bunch of different stories, but there's a point there for
No,
someone.
totally. No, those sales skills are intangible skill sets that cannot be measured whatsoever. Like it's either you got it or you don't. And the fact that you're teaching him those soft skills, it's gonna help him in the long run by far.
Yeah.
You can be like you're like yeah, like you said, you can know the material of what like 1 out of 10 can be an 8, but your communication skills might be a 3 or 4, and that can be like a differentiator for someone who knows whose communication is 8 or 9, and then their skill level is 8 or 9, and it just makes them like look more elite.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally see it. Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard from a king from California, Alex Salazar. How do you like people reaching out to you, Alex?
Instagram is pretty good. I'm on Instagram. Salazar Group, I think 559 on Instagram or Facebook. I am very active on Facebook still. You can follow my stories. You can follow my all those kind of things. You can DM me, everything like that. Definitely social media. So, like I said, Instagram or Facebook, or call me. A phone number 559-232-5668. Call me. I've had the same number since 1999. It's not going anywhere. So call me, text me. I'm happy to have a conversation, and talk about this kind of stuff. I'm passionate about it, and yeah, I might learn something from you. Trust me, you can call me.
You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. He's an open book, and he's here ready to give you 5-star customer service. Alex, true pleasure and honor to have you on the show today. Can you stay on the call for 1 or 2 more minutes, please?
Yeah, please, of course.
Thank you. Thank you.